What's up, everyone? This is Ryan Shuck from Julien-K and Adema, and you are listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studios is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers. Like our Facebook page or follow us on Twitter at NoShockPod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Ryan Shuck of Adema
and Julien-K.
Yeah.
Right now, he is working on a new Adema album, and he's
a new album from Julien-K, like a double album.
Yeah, double album. So, man, what a great interview. He did all the talking.
Yeah, we had a blast.
It was awesome. So let's get to that interview.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Ryan, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Ryan, thanks for joining us tonight.
I'm super happy to be here. How are you guys doing?
Well, we're excited to have you. We had Amir on about 2 years ago, and we've been trying to get you on ever since.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I just walked out of the studio. Amir is installing, or we're beginning the big install of Pro Tools on our new Mac Studios, the new M1s, the whole deal. You know how it goes.
Oh, yeah, fantastic. So, hey, right now you're a busy guy working on 2 new albums with Adema and Julien-K material. Working on one album is work in itself. How in the world are you, time management-wise, working on 2 at the same time?
That's funny. That is the big problem, right? Is time management, and can you create a system that allows you to deal with, a large, seemingly, it seems like it's 2 very different things that you're working on, right? Like you're working on an Adema album, and you have those sets of instruments or instrumentation and those players and that style of song, right? And then you have Julien-K, and it has these sets of instruments. Like, for Julien-K, there's going to be a bunch of synthesizers and all this, different kind of drum machines and drum synthesizers and all this kind of cool stuff that we use for that project. And then at Adema, you've got this amazing group of guys that are great at playing guitar and great drummer and great bass player, right? And you got me trying to figure out, okay, you got to write material for both projects, and you have to develop a new system for weaving in and out of that. And the way that I do it is I approach it like a singer, songwriter, producer approaches creating just a big body of work. And for example, today I spent the day in the studio with Dave and Tim and Amir. And Amir's the producer of anything that I'm involved in. Amir produces it. And so he's producing the new Adema album. And we methodically went through the master folder for the new album. And we basically just opened up song 1 and we just started going through it. We listened down. We worked on it. We picked parts that we thought were cool and kind of, worked around. We picked vocals that they thought were interesting, and we started, moving them up and featuring them more. And, you just methodically just start going through the songs. And what do you know, as you start doing that process, I'm in Adema mode. Because I've got the Adema dudes in the studio with me. The vocals have more screaming. There's more of that. It's like more of that like nu metal feel, where that's part of my heart and soul. I mean, there's so many events in the nu metal universe that I was at the center of, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
So it totally works for me, and I'm with my friends that I grew up with in Bakersfield, and, I played with Dave Drew for 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not that hard, but you have to be methodical about it. You know what I mean? You have to sit down and go, okay, the guys are coming today. That's on the schedule. When I open up my calendar says, Dave and Tim today. And then we open up the Adema folder and we go through song by song and we keep pushing each song a little further. Now, this is a kind of a crazy day. We're also going to work on Julien-K. So you wrap up with Adema, and then you kick those guys out. And then me and Amir sit down, and Amir, takes off his producing Adema hat, and we open up the master Julien-K folder, and we start looking at those songs, and we have a detailed kind of like a worksheet, on the computer. And you just kind of look at like, okay, these songs need this and this, and these songs are closer to being done. And then you just kind of read through the notes, and you methodically, systemically approach the projects. And then what do you know, after you start opening up a Julien-K track and you start doing that kind of, making those noises and those sounds and working in the workflow that Julien-K works in, well, then you just find that you start weaving, it's just that skin comes on. You just put that skin back on, if you will. And it seems like if you step back, it's going to be this really weird, complicated, overwhelming thing. And it can be, and it is. But I think that if you are methodical, like I just described, it sounds like a lot, but you heard a lot of me saying that I have notes. I have detailed, folders with prioritized songs. And, we're just going through, and whenever we work, we really detail out what we're doing. Really like a business, really like because it is a fucking business.
Yeah.
So we're careful about all of it. So any of the other guys can open up anything that we've done, and they can look at the notes and they know what's going on. So anything that I touch and that Amir touches gets organized, it gets noted, and if we touch it and open it up, we're going to move it a little bit further along.
Oh,
and
so
that's
cool.
the system.
Yeah.
That's the system. So, it sounds a little crazy, but you just have to be detailed, be disciplined. You have to walk into the studio and you have to open stuff up and start working on it. And, the bands are so different that they start dictating the mood, so it's pretty cool. Honestly, whenever I get overwhelmed by it, I always think to myself, you wanted this, motherfucker.
Yeah.
You wanted this. You asked for this.
Yeah.
You laid in bed in Taft, California, and you watched fucking late night TV, Arsenio Hall, and you saw Megadeth play on Arsenio Hall, and you thought that was the coolest fucking thing ever. You dreamt of this.
Yeah.
So why don't you quit complaining and get in there and start working on that music? That's what I think.
Yeah. Well,
Fantastic.
Well, when you peel back the songwriting onion, and how does it work for you as far as do you approach the music first and then come up with lyrics later, or are you always jotting notes for music and lyrics and then come up with the music after? How does it work for you?
It's very, very, lyrics are the hardest for me.
Yeah.
It's almost always a melody. When I'm writing, when I'm like the primary writer, I'm cursed with this like lightning that hits me, and a whole song, virtually an entire song, will hit me. And it's the bass line, the drum beat, and a melody, usually like a hooky melody or something. And it happens in the shower a lot, which is really fucking weird.
Yeah.
And sometimes I've actually been in like the vocal booth and not been able to think of the melody or like words, and I've literally ran out of the studio and jumped in the shower. Just to like see if it'll help.
Yeah.
But and that's how insane you get when you're trying to do this stuff. But I will sing it into my notes or my voice memos on my iPhone. I'll sing the bass line, I'll sing the drums, I'll sing the guitar, I'll sing the vocal. And if it's really, really good, if it like sticks, if I go back and listen to it, I'm like, fuck, that is really good. I can sit down in the studio and I can basically play all those instruments and program the drums, and I can sing the vocals, and I have like basically a song seed. And then we take it to the band and we can go from there. The really cool thing about doing Adema, unlike Julien-K, where Julien-K is mostly Amir and I doing a lot of the songwriting and playing the instruments, and Fu is a big part of it as well, but Fu is a highly technical guy, and he helps, the stuff we do is very technical, so you need a guy in the band that kind of like almost is someone that we can make our crazy, instruments and things work together in the ways that we do and everything. But with Adema, you have these 4 other guys that are really fucking good. So the formula with Adema and with me joining Adema, I told these guys, look, I'm only going to do this if it's the original band and we play Adema music. And I'm talking about albums 1 and 2. And they were like, well, okay, well, I think we know what you mean. What do you mean? And I'm like, what I mean is we are all from the same fucking town. We all grew up like this. We all grew up partying together. We all played together. We all come from the same shit. We need to think back and think about what made this so special. We need to think about, we need to recapture the vibe that we had. That doesn't mean ripping off the old music, but it will mean that the new album is going to sound like it came after album 2.
Nice.
We're going to make an album. And I think with the new songs, I think that people are getting that, like that we're really going back to the roots of what made Adema special. So I have this, the way I look at it is I have this gift. Me and Amir don't have to go in there and write everything. I can literally just look at those guys and go, hey, I hear Tim do a riff and I go, fuck, man, all I have to do is have Mike Ransom play an awesome, corresponding part or melody. All of a sudden it sounds like Adema. It's incredible. And then you get Dave and Chris, doing what they do. You get Dave's melodic kind of bass playing that is completely unique to Dave. And then you get Chris, who's the most unique drummer I've ever played with. I mean, he's completely left-brained, weird, really interesting, drums. And then you have this, Amir and I literally, we start laughing and we look at each other and we're like, oh my God, it sounds like Adema. It's so cool. Because we're fans too, so when you get to hear these dudes play together and it sounds like the band that you dig, and when you make them do the things that they're the best at, it just, this magic happens. And so I just get excited, and that's what we did today. It's like down and bands are always struggling to do something new and grow and keep themselves interested in all this kind of stuff. But as producers and kind of co-songwriters, you have to go, guys, remember, you're fucking Tim Flucky. Just do that riff the way that you do it. And then they start doing it and you're like, oh my God, this is magic. These guys are magic. So in that way, it's sort of a relief because all I have to do is get Adema to do what they do best. And then I've got to make sure that I don't let the music down and the fans down by making sure the vocals are going to be fitting the music and they're going to be right for what that band, what the brand and what the story has always been for that band, and it's not that difficult because I am part of that story.
Oh, so cool. Well, take us back. Let's talk about the journey about joining Adema. Was it back in 2019? How did this opportunity come your way?
I know they got together with Marky, and I went and saw them play down here in Orange County, and it was a really weird show. It wasn't, it was one of those, off venues, not well promoted, weird thing, and not that many people. And I went down and saw them because we're all buds, and I was excited that Marky was back in the band, and I thought that he was sober and everything was, great. I was super happy. I saw him play. And I was like, man, they are so good. I'm like, fuck, man. So I started talking to Dave again. And I basically was like, God, why aren't you guys touring? I mean, do you realize, people pay us to play? I mean, it's crazy. You know, you can actually go make money. This is really fun. And I go, why don't you guys tour with Julien-K? And he was like, oh, you know, I'd love to, but, you know, Marky's not sure, this and that. And I'm like, well, he's sober now. I mean, let's do this. Give me his number. I'll talk to him. No one says no to me. And and so I get on the phone with him, and he's like stoked. You know, oh, dude, I love you, Ryan. You know, always looked up to you, this and that. And what do you got? You know, let's talk about, you know, touring, all this kind of stuff. I'm all, great, man. This is awesome, dude. You guys are so great. I'm like, I can show you how to do what we're doing the way that we're doing it in Julien-K. And, you know, we were able to rise from the ashes of Orgy, which is, you know, a Jay Gordon inspired disaster, of a band that sold millions of albums and they used to get paid tons of money to play. How do you fuck that up? Well, that's a whole different story. But it really fucking damaged, you know, Amir and I's career. Yeah. And we put this back together on our own with no label, from complete wreckage. And we basically built a system to tour, and we've rebuilt our touring business to where it's so important now that we literally, I mean, we're doing so well touring that, you know, we had to literally tell our agent to stop so we could make a record. We were like, stop giving us shows. Stop. We have to be home. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, for how long? And I'm like, dude, till fucking March, dude. Like, we got to be home. I mean, he was trying to book us from January on. Well, again, I say, you know, you wanted this motherfucker. Yeah. You know, I used to be pissed that we couldn't tour, that the whole thing was destroyed. Well, now we have so much touring, it's coming out of our fucking ears. And I'm like, guys, you guys could do that too. You know, you are Adema. You guys have sold 1 million albums. You can easily make, you know, $100,000 a month, you know, gross on the road. And that's like not getting paid very much. And so I thought that I had this in the bag. I'm going to have Adema, play with Julien-K. I'm going to tour manage them. I'll share my spreadsheets with them and my systems with them so that they can make money. And then I get to help my friends out, and I get to play with a band that I love. And then one day, I mean, 10 phone calls later, I'm like, oh my God, making people money usually doesn't take 10 phone calls. Normally it's like one phone call, and I break it down and they're like, what? $100,000 a month at a 60% net? Holy shit. That's like $10,000 a person. I love that. Woo. No, I did not get that. I got Marky Chavez 101. So 4 + 4 = orange, apparently. And it was fucking insane. So finally, I'm like getting like kind of frustrated. And Marky goes, you know what? Finally, at like phone call number 10, he's like, I want to do different music. I'm going to do some music with you. And I'm well, that's awesome. I'd love to do music with you, but let's get the band out on tour and get you guys on the map again. Mm-hmm. And he's like, you know what, man? He's well, I just don't really like that music. I don't really want to do that music. And I was just silent on the phone. Yeah. And I go, wow, I wish you would have led with that. And he's like, well, yeah, you know, I just don't like it. I don't like those fans. I don't like that music. And I was just like aghast. And I go, okay. I go, well, dude, I am not the type of dude to try to get people to do what they don't want to do. Yeah. I had no idea. I thought that because I have gone to see you guys play some shows, that I thought that was an indicator that you wanted to actually play shows and get paid for it. My bad. Have a great life. Goodbye. Hung up the phone and called my friends in Adema, and I said, guys, I'm so sorry. I don't know what to say, but this dude doesn't even like the music. And I don't even have to say, man, I'm so sorry, guys. You know, like, sorry, it's not going to work. Anyways, I'm going on tour. Bye. And, you know, hung up the phone. And after that, they kind of broke up. And I think they were all pissed. They were just like, fuck, this guy, like, is dragging us through the mud again. This is like the 4th time. You know, he rejoins the band, starts playing shows, gets everyone excited, and then basically is already working another angle. And I felt, you know, terrible. And then a couple months passed, maybe 6-7 months passed, and out of nowhere, Chris Coles calls me. And I'm like, oh, Chris, you know, right on. How you doing, dude? He's like, hey, man, good. He's like, dude, we got offered another big tour. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, man. And he's like, yeah. He's like, would you come sing? And I go, I was just silent. And I was like, fuck. I go, well, I don't even know what to say to that. You know, I go, I have a, you know, I told Chris, I go, you know, I have a busy career right now. And, I resurrected it from disaster. I had my own Marquee. I had my own, nightmare singer who doesn't want to do it, and, every problem in the world you can think of, and, hates the band and all this crap. I'm like, yeah, I've dealt with it, man. And I finally, it took me 10 years, but I created a new career. So I don't know that I want to, distract from that, but boy, am I interested. That sounds really challenging. I haven't been doing that music. I'm known for like a different vocal tone and all this kind of stuff. But man, I used to sing that stuff. I could probably do it. He's like, well, think about it and talk to Amir. So I talked to Amir and I said, hey man, it might just be one tour, but what do you think? And he's like, well, you've got a lot of energy. so he's like, you've got a lot of energy and you like to punish yourself. So he's like, it could be, it's probably it would be good, and he's like, I'm not worried about it taking from Julien-K. He's like, I'm just worried that it needs to sound good. You shouldn't be doing anything that doesn't sound good. So everything needs to be up to our standards and your voice needs to work over the music. And I go, okay, I'm going to go rehearse with them and see how it sounds. So I drove to Bakersfield secretly, rehearsed with them, and a couple people were there, and they were like, it's so weird. They're like, it sounds so good. Ryan sounds right on it. It's almost like Trent Reznor and David Gahan like meshed singing Adema songs. And I was like, whoa, I like that.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. And so I went back to Amir and I'm like, dude, it sounds pretty good. And Amir's like, all right, well, like, do you think you just do a tour or should we do like a new album? Like, should we resurrect this thing? And I was like, maybe. And so he's like, all right, well, I'm cool with it, but I want to produce the album. And then Amir was like, in fact, I want to come on tour with you. Like, we'll just think of a job for me. Let's just figure out what these guys need to do. And so we put the whole secret plan in place and we went out. The first show, I had fans coming up crying, giving me a hug, saying, thank you for bringing this band back. And you actually sound right. And more than any other singer, they were like, you actually just sound like you belong on stage with these guys. And that moved me.
Yeah.
I had fans with like tears in their eyes. They were like, oh my God, we thought we'd never see this band again. We were with Powerman 5000, Head PE, and Adema. It was a great tour. And lots of people came. We were stoked. The band made a lot of money. Amir came out with us and helped us like handle our merch business and all this kind of stuff. But really, Amir took notes and watched the band play. And so then we went to work afterwards and we started working on, producing new songs and figuring out, what the band needed to do and how to go about launching new songs with me singing. And it took a while, but we finally boiled it down to our first 3 songs, 2 of which we've released. The first of which, Ready to Die, is at number 4 right now on their most listened to tracks. And our latest one, Violent Principles, is like number 11. And this is with tracks that have 13, 14, 15 million streams. Ready to Die is going to stream 1 million in under a year. Nice. With no major label. It's just on our little label that we did ourselves. And I did a pretty damn good job. I will admit that on all the promo. And, I think we figured out how to be a label, which is a frightening concept. But we released both songs. We did self-produced videos that the videos did great. I mean, we're coming in on hundreds of thousands of views on the videos. We just knocked it out of the park, and that was pretty convincing because when I joined, you had a lot of people that were just kind of going like, yeah, fuck this guy. This guy seems like he's a goth pussy and all this kind of stuff. Orgy sucks. We hate Orgy. Even though we sold 3 million albums and all these people probably have it, but whatever. They suck. Fuck them. And this guy, eyeliner, lipstick, paints his nails. Fuck that pussy. Well, we came out with Ready to Die, and it was like -1% negative comments. It was like, holy fuck. Yeah. It was capital letters. Adema's back. Ryan Shuck wrote Blind and shit. And all this fucking bullshit. Like, all of a sudden, the whole tide changed. And that's when I realized, I was like, you know what? We hit a fucking chord. We hit a chord.
Yeah.
We were disciplined, and we did what Adema was supposed to do. And that is remember where they come from. Remember your roots. And I did what I was supposed to do, and that is not try to Julien-K-ize this stuff, not try to orgy-ize this stuff, but to literally really think about where Adema came from and really just try to remember, the roots of the feelings, the things that were being talked about back then and all that kind of stuff, and then kind of like think about it in a modern way. And all that like nerve-wracking and, pulling my hair out, thinking about how to get the message across correctly paid off big time, because when we released Violent Principles after that, which also did really fucking well, it was a really melodic song. I honestly thought that was going to turn people against us. Well, that was probably even better received than Ready to Die. There's no screaming on it. There's nothing. Now, Ready to Die is doing better because it fits formats better. But Violent Principles was, if you do it by rating, the numbers are great, but by reaction, it's the best reaction the band's gotten yet, which is incredible. And that's a totally melodic song that I thought people were going to be like, oh boy, guy's singing like a girl, now it's not good. What is this songbird over here? Yeah. And it turns out that it just hit the nail on the head really hard. Now, Violent Principles format, now from a business perspective, Violent Principles does not format as well as Ready to Die. Ready to Die fits a lot of great playlist formats and stuff, and so Ready to Die is just blown up because it's just fitting better into that world, whereas Ready to Die is not, Violent Principles is not going to playlist as well as Ready to Die. Even though it did great, it did playlist well, but Ready to Die is like the gift that keeps on giving. The thing is getting added to everything. I can't even fucking believe it. So here we are, and now we're home. After a year of touring, after a couple of years of touring in both bands, and we're dead serious now about getting this album's worth of material done, for both bands. And you want to hear something even crazier?
Yes.
Is this the easiest podcast you've ever done? You guys don't even have to talk. It's fucking great, right? Yeah, you guys should have put pajamas on and just turned on a movie.
I know, you're doing great.
I do have my pajamas on.
So, what's crazy is we just opened up the Julien-K folder and we did a big song cull, where we go through and we separate the wheat from the chaff, and we have fucking 2 albums worth of material.
Yeah,
what the fuck? How did that happen? So, getting it done is another thing, but yeah, we have. So we're looking at Julien-K having either a full album and an EP, or 2 EPs, or 2 albums. I think it's going to be a full album and kind of like an EP. And when I say EP, I don't mean 4 songs. I mean 7.
Cool.
Just under a full album. And it's going to be Trauma Echoes and Dark Mode.
Nice,
Dark Mode is heavy industrial. So far in Dark Mode, there's no guitars at all. It's body industrial, cool shit. You could share the stage with, anything from Front 242 and Combi Christ to Aesthetic Perfection, and it's just in that realm. But of course, there's more melody because I'm a little bit more of a melodic singer. But it's really cool. And then Trauma Echoes sounds, it's sort of like the tail end of Harmonic Disruptor. So it's kind of like the hangover from this super energy, industrial, almost candy ass orgy kind of album that we did with Harmonic Disruptor. Trauma Echoes is slower, sludgier, heavy guitars. It's almost like if you mix Dead Z and The Cure.
Nice.
I like that. Yeah, very moody shit. Yeah. So it appears that the band cannot seem to repeat themselves. We just keep doing something different every time.
It's working.
And, it's going to be great. So hopefully the Dark Mode's going to be, it's going to move and it's going to be heavy, but it's going to be heavy synthesizers and a lot of sequencing and shit like that. And Trauma Echoes is going to be breaking out the heavy guitars, but taking a turn for the gloomier and all that kind of stuff. So that's where we are. Trauma Echoes has about 17 potential songs on it, and Dark Mode has about 7 so far.
Oh, we're excited.
Yeah, I know.
Me too.
So when we talked to Amir, he told us a little bit about his guitar collection and stuff, and I know you play guitar and synthesizers. What do you have a large guitar collection?
I have about 35.
Nice. Wow.
It's medium. Next to Amir's, it's medium.
I wanted to touch upon the music video creation. You guys have been very creative on the Julien-K side of the music video, I guess the art form. Can you talk a little bit more about it? Because I work out every morning. I put on YouTube. I watch a lot of Julien-K videos. Can you talk a little bit more about the music video creation that you guys have been so good at?
Yeah. So everything that we do, we try to constantly foster relationships and partnerships with other creatives that we think are cool and that have skill sets that we obviously are interested in, that we either want to learn about or we want to work with them. And we're always looking for young or hungry, cool directors that we think are under-recognized. And one of the first ones that we worked with was Ryan Rickett. And that's where we did the Kick the Bass video, which was like that was more of a big budget, very like pornographic, pushing the envelope. When we sent that to MTV, they sent it back to us and with literally the email said like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, you sent us a full-on porn." And this is before Rammstein's Pussy and all that kind of stuff, So we kind of, we're definitely in the realm of like, pushing the envelope there. But after that, we spent a lot of money on that, and it was definitely an underground favorite and hit and all that kind of stuff, and different versions of the video. One's more pornographic, one's more commercial, and all this cool stuff. That was super fun. But we realized really quickly after doing that, and after Orgy, that the modern world was going to demand that we really build relationships and figure out how to do this in a way that doesn't cost $100,000 per video or $200,000 or $300,000 per video. And so we really started, working with like Vicente Cordero before he got big, because he's now doing, Cradle of Filth and all these like just, all these big bands, and he's working with some decent budgets and everything. We started working with him. He was a fan, and he didn't really have a chance yet. And we're the type of guys that we always kind of co-produce or co-direct or co-write anything we're involved in. There's very few things that we've done that we're not behind the camera as well, or part of the storyboard process, or instigating the entire concept. And so we went to Vicente and we were like, look, budgets, everything, we have to be prolific, but we have to figure out how to do this for like a couple $1,000. So I came up with this idea of like, why don't we shoot 2 videos at the same time? It sounds novel, right? Well, and if you're clever, it becomes, you can figure it out. So we're in one place, in one set for like 2 days, and we go in and we knock out 2 video shoots. So that's what we did. We're Here With You, and we did Breakfast in Berlin, and we did it with 2 different drummers. And at the time, we were trying out Frank and Eli and other drummers, and we knew it was going to be between Frank and Eli, but we couldn't make a decision. So we asked them both to come back and shoot a video with us each. They were like, fuck yeah. And so this is just more of that. By doing that, we've actually toured with both drummers, and we have deep, long-lasting relationships with both drummers, and we consider both drummers part of the Julien-K extended family. Don't be surprised if you see them play with us again at some point. But I think that because of our openness and our ability to form relationships and come up with ways to help out the people that are helping us out, we've been able to be prolific and do really cool things like that. So we included everyone. We worked together on all the stuff. We helped co-write. We helped Vicente kind of like flesh out like where he was going to go. And now to this day, like Vicente, is like, always tells the other bands that he works with that, these guys gave me my first gig, and he's super cool about it. And we liked working with Vicente so much, we went back to do Cruel Days of Summer with him. And that's like, with no label, we did 3 major videos on an album. I mean, what the fuck planet are we from? And if anyone has seen Cruel Days of Summer, that video is like a fucking $90,000 video on the low end. And so that was when we were really learning that we were more of producers and more of like content creators than just musicians alone. So Cruel Days of Summer, I had it with making videos, and I came up with a video idea where let's just not be in the video. Let's just have our eyes in like a mirror or something. Like, I don't want to be the star of a video. I don't want to put on all this makeup and dance around and be fucking cool. I don't want to do it. So we asked our friend, a model from Germany, Desiree, who's a fucking fabulous model. She's super talented. and we knew her from living in Europe and touring there and everything. And so we flew her over, who she was doing some modeling jobs over here and stuff anyway. So it just kind of worked out. So we cut kind of a friendly deal with her to kind of act in the video, and everyone was like shocked that I didn't want to be like the star of the video. I'm like, no, I don't want to be in it at all. I just don't even want to be in the video. And so being creative, we figured out different ways to figure out how to make like a star of the video. So we made the star of the video a car.
Yeah.
So it's the journey of this vehicle and this other girl. So we borrowed my friend's Maserati, and we ended up borrowing a friend's Malibu beach house. Like this house rents for $25,000 or something to shoot movies there for like the week or like a day, or it's some insane. It's beachfront.
Nice.
And then we also leveraged a relationship with our other friends who owned a really successful club at the time called Control. And so they let us go in and shoot, in Control, which by the way is like, that's like, $15,000 is what they charge to go in there and shoot there or whatever. It's insane. So we got all of these locations, and it was just, and we shot it over a couple of days, and Desiree just like worked like a champ just because she loves the band and loves us and believed in the project. And, at the end of it, we had this incredible video that, just renting the locations and getting like the car and the model and all this kind of stuff would have been like $60,000 for a label, let alone, paying for the filmmakers and all that kind of stuff. And we did all this by just doing it ourselves, by just producing this thing ourselves, making the deals, cutting the deals, executing the deals, managing the people on set, managing the set, doing all that stuff, down to even the editing. With the editing, it turns out Bobby Hewitt, our drummer from Orgy, Bobby Hewitt's like a major film guy. Well, there you go again with the relationships.
Yeah.
Bobby loves video and he loves us, and we've always kept our relationship super, super bitchin' and super open and connected. And so we started working with Bobby as an editor. And the great thing about Bobby is that he cuts things like a drummer. So it's always on a great beat and you find a great rhythm. And so the short way to wrap this up is that it's by constantly creating relationships, never burning bridges, always looking for talent, realizing that to be an artist, a successful and prolific artist in this day and age, you have to start becoming more than an artist. You have to be someone who is a all-encompassing content creator. And you have to understand that a lot of the people that you're working with, you really have to work on treating them the right way, involving them in the right way. You need to have your shit together. And when Amir and I come into a project, usually we come in with our shit together. We have an idea of what we want to do. We have good attitudes about it. We're not treating people like shit. We're treating people like we respect them, and we listen to what they have to say, and we act on any great ideas that they have, and we include everyone. And what ends up happening is we'll do a video like this. We did this 3 with Vicente, started editing them with Bob. And then we ended up shooting Mannequin Eyes with Bob, who crushed it, and then did another video with Bob. And then you just continue to work with people because you develop a system for doing it the right way. And all of the stuff, Cool Days of Summer was a more expensive video, but when I say expensive, $5,000-$6,000. The other videos, honestly, are about $2,000. And at this point, we're with Adema, we've made 2 fantastic videos, and we're working with our good friend Brandon, who is the Annex, and his former drummer, Oscar, who is an incredible videographer and just all around video guy and content creator, and another one of his partners who does like motorcycle videos and stuff like that. And we continue down this path of like, we kind of tie in all the things that we're interested in. Like for Your Lies Are Like Fire, our motorcycles were the stars.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Me and Amir are wearing helmets the whole time. We're like so we kind of keep these themes rolling, and we play on these ideas, and we really go, okay, what could we do? Fuck, I've got these cool motorcycles. We've got, and you just let this concept roll. And we end up figuring out how to do a great video that looks incredible, super cinematic, that doesn't cost $10,000.
Yeah.
And I wish there was like just like a one like a one stop like formula for how to get this stuff done. But it really is that we're taking on more and more and more ownership in our project and in our content. Now we're at the point where I am shooting a lot of our video myself and editing it myself. So I just was like, okay, Bob, man, you're so great. What do you use? And then he showed me what he used. And these people are so cool that Bob just got on a Zoom call with me and broke down DaVinci's Resolve with me. And I can now use DaVinci Resolve. So all the content now that you see rolling out for Adema, that's actually cut video with like real like video shots and like little mini 15-second and 30-second videos and longer ones, all of that is done by me now. So I still will work with other people, of course, because there's other people that have better skills in a lot of ways than me. But now that when we work with them, I can bring even more to the table. I can go, now I understand even more how I can make it better for them and easier for them. And that is a never-ending journey.
You do an incredible job.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jeff. You want the next one?
Yeah, I was going to ask you about, I think, Unauthorized Live in Europe. Is that your first live album?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about the what went behind making that? Is it on full hard physical release, or is it just Bandcamp and Apple iTunes?
Yeah, there's no physical release, unfortunately. I think that's something that we would want to make, and like a vinyl or something like that. I think we definitely talked about it, and it would probably be awesome as a CD as well.
It would be.
Physical does really well for us, so it's something that we do try to stay on top of. Physical is also a pain in the ass because it's physical and you have to get it made. And since COVID, everything's a pain in the ass. And even making vinyl is now so popular. It's really fucking hard to get things made if you're not a major label. Vinyl's so hard to make right now that we almost considered signing a record deal with someone else just because we were having trouble making shit. Because some of those labels have like a beeline to those factories, right? Because they're obviously, they're the biggest spenders, right? So it's hard. It is something we want to get done. That album, interestingly enough, we worked with a manager in Germany that turned out to be, a criminal. And he we got fucked over a lot, which is why we run everything ourselves now. Since Orgy, it's been hard. We were on top of the world, and then our singer fucked us over, and of all people. And then since then, as you're trying to put things back together, you're the dudes from Orgy, and you get all sorts of people that want to work with us, but they all want to just capitalize off of it and take advantage of you. And so this dude wanted to release this live album, and we were, okay, let's definitely look at doing that. We had the material recorded, and he had a record label in Germany, and he was managing, booking, all this kind of stuff in Europe for us. And we kind of thought he was our friend and everything. And I was getting more and more frustrated with how difficult everything was and how much money we were spending in Europe and all this kind of stuff, and how much money we were spending on him, and the results weren't there. And I was talking to the band about doing our first crowdfunding campaigns. And this is before we had all the successful campaigns. This is when I was starting to really get that feeling inside of me that things are not the way they should be.
Yeah.
We need to take even more control, even more ownership, not because we're control freaks, but because no one is going to care as much as we care. And no one is going to do the groundwork for us. There is no label that's going to come along. There's no manager that's going to come along and drop $1 million to reacquire all the Orgy fans. It's not going to happen. And that started really sticking with me. This idea of starting with just the fans that we know personally. That concept started really getting into me. And so I started looking at this guy, Daniel, in Germany, and everyone telling us like, oh, there's all these fans out there, and oh, we're going to sign these deals, and oh, we got to spend money on this and do this. And I just started to kind of call bullshit. And I said to our manager there, this guy, Daniel, I said, hey, hold off on this because I want to try this crowdfunding concept. I saw that Orgy did it, and it was an epic fail. But I think that, as usual, it's because they're doing everything wrong. They're not being authentic. They're not using the principles that we use. And this is when I was developing all these principles, and I was starting to find a little bit of connection with it. And I go, let's hold off on this live album thing, because we have, an actual album we're working on. We've been touring forever. We've been in Europe, wasting all this money and all this time. We're home now, making this thing. Let's make this album, and let's crowdfund it. Well, it took me about a year to get the band comfortable with the concept of crowdfunding. I mean, they were not down. They were just like, this is weird. We ask people for money. I mean, this is bizarre. Fuck that. And I'm like, that's a whole separate story. But I finally made the call, and I go, hey, dude, hold off on the live album. I don't want to do multiple things at once anymore. I want to do one thing at a time. I don't want the band's attention diverted, and I want to stop acting like there's 4 million people out there that bought the Orgy album last week, and they're just waiting for the new Julien-K product. I'm sick of this shit. Let's pretend there's only 100 people that give a shit, and let's create stuff for them, and let's cater to them. The ones that we know their names and we know where they live, and they know they'll buy our shit. They love us, and we have their email addresses. And he fucking lost his fucking top. Oh. He told me that I was fucking crazy and that I'm a pussy, and that, he just got weird. Like, what do you mean you can't do two things at once? And then he said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to release this album anyways, and you're going to fucking go along with it. And that's what's happening. All this kind of stuff. And I was like, whoa, true colors. Yeah. So I just asked to not do it at this moment. Let's do an actual album first. And you just decided that the clause came out, and so you're my boss. You own the band, and you dictate what the band, what we're gonna release, and you're gonna keep the money from it. Well, you also told us that. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, well, cool. So we, he started, moving forward with his plans, and he started putting a pre-sale out, and he's like, fuck you guys, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to keep the money. And he decided that we owed him money too, even though we paid like $70,000 to him over the course of like 2 years. Like, what cost $70,000? Nothing costs that. Yeah. So he went down that path, and so we went, okay, so this is happening. This is reinforcing the fact that I don't want to do this anymore. These people are crazy. They don't know what they're doing. They aren't in touch with our fan base and what is going to work for this band. They're delusional. They're fucking delusional. And I don't like this. So we got legal. We shut everything down. Fuck you. We, took the album back, everything. And then we kind of licked our wounds and recovered. And then I worked on the guys, working on their, acceptance of this crowdfunding concept. Sure. And like a year later, we came out with our first crowdfunding campaign, and, we went #1 in the world for music on crowdfunding. 5 campaigns later, we've raised like $150,000 directly with our fans. So it's bigger than any record deal we could have gotten. Wow. And we've just crushed it. And every campaign that we've done has been #1. And we're going to do one with Adema. I don't know how Adema will do, because, Adema hasn't tended the garden the way Julien-K has for the last couple of years. But they're doing the right things now. But we're going to take a stab at it, and we're going to apply my principles to it and do it, in an authentic and real way. And I think it's going to resonate. But the Julien-K, the idea and what we did and the principles we used to do it have recreated the band and its business. Yeah. And that's the reason we now have a strong touring business. We have demand now for real demand. We have real customers. We have their email addresses. We have their credit card, information. We have, all the stuff that you'd have when you have a trusting relationship with actual, fans that really, really want to financially participate in the band and its activities. We have a Patreon that does great. We have, everything that you really can have as an indie. I mean, it's all happening right now. So that album that you're referring to was a catalyst. Yeah. And at some point later on, we finally went back and we released it. We finally let it out. We were like, fuck, this thing's here. We worked on this. People that we love were involved in it. Mm-hmm. It's just, unfortunately, this guy Daniel tried to use it to fuck us, which sucks. But it makes me like that album even more. Yeah.
Well, I enjoyed it. I listened to the first couple songs, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to finish this later. This is awesome. Can you talk a little bit more about was it all like a couple of particular shows or one show, or was it multiple shows? How did that part work?
It was multiple shows.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
So we moved in around 2011. We began the relationship with Daniel, and we I always wanted to play in Europe, and Orgy never played in Europe. Orgy made a ton of bad decisions too, but at the time we were so big in America, our management was just like, look, Korn's not really making money in Europe, and a lot of, Limp and all these bands, they were like, it's not really worth going over there. You guys are so big here, let's just keep crushing America until Europe makes more sense. And so that's what we did. Looking back now, I think it was the dumbest decision ever, because Europe is what pays when America stops.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and so that was very stupid of them, very short-sighted of them. And I didn't know any better back then. So I've spent, the better part of 10 plus years going back and relearning this business after being wildly successful in it. You know what I mean? So, doing it the wrong way.
I wanted to take this a different direction with you. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but sure. 2015's California Noir Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 are my two favorite Julien-K albums. And with it taking kind of a different direction than what you guys were at the time, sonically, Eviscerate being my favorite song of all time from you guys. Can you talk just a bit more about the creation of those two albums, and then becomes a double album of sorts?
Yeah.
Yep, and one of the biggest crowdfunding successes that we've ever had. I think that was a product of us finally becoming a true indie and really handling everything ourselves, and realizing that we don't have to just stick to the concept of an album with 10 songs on it. And it was really just the beginning, the baby step towards getting to where we are now. And realizing that as we just continue to write, and if things aren't feeling like, like that album to me didn't feel like that would all go on one album. And there were a lot of good songs. We started getting really, really ambitious, and we wanted to really spread our wings. And we were like, you know what, let's make a double album. And then we went from that to coming up with a clever release called Time Capsule, which maybe isn't a bunch of singles, and it's not like a traditional album, but it's 4 albums worth of material, that's most of which people haven't heard, and it turned into one full album of actual original material, not just like B-sides. And that was really a result of us just kind of spreading our wings and realizing that we can do whatever the fuck we want to do. And if we embrace the fact that we're content creators and storytellers, I can figure out a way to make it cool and make it interesting and make it fun for our fans. And that was what that was all about, was having a body of work that kind of showed two sides of the band, and merchandising it in a way that was going to be compelling and interesting to the people who love our music. And, I just think about if I was a kid and I was following a band like ours, and I was a fan of it, and they were doing the kind of gamification and fun shit that we do, I would fucking love it. I used to get into that so much when bands did clever stuff or they did ambitious things. And as long as it wasn't bullshit, like as long as it was quality, I was stoked. And that's basically the rule. And that's where we started kind of doing that. We pulled it back in on the latest one, on Harmonic Disruptor. We wanted to release more of like a classic LP, 9 songs. So we're kind of free. We can just do this stuff. We can surprise people with 21 new songs, or we can come out with 9 fucking front to back crushing tracks.
You guys do it so well. All right, so I got one last question for you, and then we'll leave you alone for the evening. Deal?
Sure.
All right, so this is going to be the toughest question of all time. So, are you the lead singer that is also a musician, or are you the musician that also sings? How does it work for you?
Oh, boy. I am probably a closet business executive that happens to be a really good singer and musician.
That's awesome.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. Brilliant answer.
Yeah.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Were you so impressed with your answer on that one? You were speechless.
I was. That was me going like, man, I got to let these guys talk too.
Well, we're out of our allotted time for the evening, and you've been fantastic. We want to thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
If there's, is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to promote or plug?
No, not really. I mean, I would just want to tell everyone to keep your eyes open for new music coming in the new year, and we have a giant Adema tour starting in late March. That's going to be 7 weeks long with some great bands. It's going to be a new metal madness tour. Tantric, Head PE, Adema, and we have some big news for Julien-K after that. Tour-wise,
fantastic.
We'll have a bunch of music, and it's going to be fun stuff. We're going to have new Adema music. It's going to be a great 2023. Is going to be fucking awesome, and I'm going to be a dad, which is going to be crazy.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
So while I'm on tour, I got to jump on a plane and fly home and have my daughter be born, and then I got to jump back on a plane and go finish tour.
Oh, how exciting!
Yeah.
Well,
I fucking love it.
Yeah, man, this is how things are going to work out. We're about 3 weeks behind on our episodes, but in about 3 weeks we'll release it. Jeff, the editing wizard over here, will get it all polished up. We'll send it to you. We'll send it to Shauna. We'll get it all out there for everybody to listen to. Does that sound good?
Yep, just give me good shareable stuff, and I will share away.
And we will do that.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. You were fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys are awesome. I love you guys. I hope I see you when we're out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And congratulations once again.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother. Okay. Bye-bye.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Everybody hides at home inside their nest of snakes. Everybody grinds the stone and makes their own mistakes. Hide in the headlights, fight the grip of fear. You can make your dreams come true, but you just can't do it here. Hey! Everybody eyes the gun and screams inside their head. never take from you, then